Think back for a second. Remember when smoking was just everywhere? In restaurants, offices, even on airplanes. And then the science became so clear it was impossible to ignore. We finally got our heads around the reality of secondhand harm, and we actually did something about it. Well, today, it feels like we're standing at a similar crossroads, but with a totally different substance: alcohol, and the way we handle it in our shared spaces. Well, it reveals a fascinating and honestly a pretty troubling contradiction.
I mean, look at this. On one side, we've all pretty much agreed that smoking in public is a no-go for health reasons. It's a settled debate. But on the other side, alcohol isn't just tolerated in those exact same spaces. It's often the main event. It's served, it's celebrated, it's everywhere. We've drawn this really clear, hard line for one, but for the other, the line is, well, it's not even blurry, it's practically invisible.
So, that really brings us to the big question we're going to try and unpack here. Why? Why this massive contradiction? Why do we treat these two substances, both with huge impacts on public health, so completely differently in the spaces we all have to share? Okay, to even begin to answer that, we have to start with the facts. Let's just set aside culture, tradition, all that stuff for a moment and look at the cold, hard science. The stuff that modern medicine has confirmed is just, well, undeniable. Let's start with a word that scientists do not use lightly: carcinogen. This isn't just some scary label, it has a very specific meaning. It means something is proven to cause cancer in human beings. Think asbestos, think tobacco smoke, and yes, think alcohol. The scientific world is united on this. Alcohol belongs right there in that category. And this is a big one, because it completely flips the script on decades of, let's be honest, mixed messages. You know, that old idea that maybe a glass of red wine is good for you? Yeah, that's been totally debunked by bigger, better studies. The modern scientific consensus is simple and it's stark. When it comes to the risk of cancer, there is no safe level of alcohol. Period. And the damage isn't just isolated to one place. We always hear about the liver, right? But the impact is systemic. It hits pretty much everything, from our brain function and our heart to the pancreas and even our reproductive health. It's a full body problem, not just a liver problem. And this is where we see the most direct and heartbreaking parallel to secondhand smoke. We're talking about secondhand harm. The most tragic example, of course, is the effect on an unborn child. A fetus has absolutely no choice in the matter, no defense against it, and the exposure can cause permanent, irreversible damage to their developing brain. But here's the wild part. These concerns are not new. They didn't just pop up with modern MRI machines. For centuries, for millennia, humans have been observing these exact same effects. Let's take a look at some of these echoes from history and literature. It's like a kind of wisdom that we've somehow forgotten. So, about 2,000 years ago, the Tamil poet Thiruvalluvar just nailed it with this observation. And notice, this isn't a moral judgment. He's not saying they're bad people. He's just stating a timeless behavioral fact. Alcohol systematically dismantles our judgment. It clouds our thinking, even in the smartest, wisest people. And that has huge implications for how we all behave in public. Fast forward a few centuries, and Shakespeare basically captures the exact same paradox. This line is brilliant, right? It perfectly describes how alcohol works. It fires up our impulses, our desires, but at the same time, it sabotages our ability to act with any kind of control or reason. Now, you take that dynamic and you drop it into a crowded public space, well, you've got a perfect recipe for conflict and harm. And all of this, the ancient wisdom, the literary observation, it brings us right back into the present day, to what the source material here calls the public paradox. It's this massive inconsistency that we all just live with every single day. And just to be absolutely clear, the argument we're exploring here isn't about what people do in their own homes. This is not about morality or a call for prohibition. The focus is squarely on public health and the real, tangible, secondhand consequences that happen when alcohol is consumed in the spaces that we all share. Just look at how we handle risk in other areas. We criminalize drunk driving. Why? Because it puts other people in danger. We ban smoking on airplanes for the exact same reason. It harms others. But drinking on that same plane, consuming a substance we know impairs judgment in a sealed metal tube 35,000 feet in the air, that's not just allowed, it's actively encouraged. You really have to stop and ask, why the special exception here? So where does all this leave us? What do we do with all this?
Let's try to pull all these different threads together, the science, the history, the weird policy gaps, and see if we can maybe align our rules with the actual evidence and land on something that feels a bit more reasonable.
You know, when you lay it all out like this, a really clear pattern just jumps out at you. You have ancient wisdom literally warning us about what this does to our judgment. Then you have classic literature observing the exact same strange paradox of impulse versus control. And now you have modern science confirming the deep physiological harm. I mean, we're talking about three totally different areas of human knowledge, separated by thousands of years, all pointing to the exact same fundamental truth. And that leads us to one final and maybe pretty provocative question. When we see this mountain of evidence from all these different places, and we still choose to ignore it, are we maybe indulging in our own kind of intoxication, a sort of collective denial? It makes you wonder if the most dangerous intoxication of all is our own reluctance to finally and honestly confront the true cost of alcohol in our public lives.